Welcome to Caleb Can't Read. I'm Jordan Rabel.
I'm Caleb Terrence.
Been a while.
Been a while, yeah.
Been a while.
Yeah.
And to anyone who may have given a shit about the month and a half wait, look, usually these excuses come once in a while. It just so happens we were doing so well this year that Santa Claus decided to put them all at the tail end of the year, where it was like I was going to go on vacation, so we needed to record super quick. And then we both got sick, and I just wasn't going to tell you about it. I was like, hey, man, come on over. We got to do this second episode. You're like, I am sick as a motherfucker. And I'm like, yeah, me too, honestly. I was just going to lie about it and give it to you.
I know you would.
And then I went on vacation, and then afterwards, just more illness. But we're fine now, you know?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I don't know. I also just was feeling a little, I don't know. I don't feel too goofy, you know?
You goofy motherfucker.
I don't feel like a goofy guy right now.
You look goofy.
Thanks, man.
You know, that's where it counts.
That's good. That's good. That'll get me up there. That'll get the little pep back in my step.
Yeah, you know, you look weird, you know? Just one.
It's this time of year, the sun goes away, and I'm just cold and wet all the time.
Oh, so you're the depressed one now. All right, cool.
No, it's not. Okay. Depression implies that I have like a chemical imbalance. As a matter of fact, I just have to be outside for most of my life, and I live in the Pacific Northwest. I feel like this is a very reasonable response.
I mean, I'd be depressed if I looked like you too.
No, you wouldn't.
No.
Oh, you mean not white? Yeah.
You know, the best segue that I actually have for this was listening back on the first episode to get a little bit refreshed. I recommended Portuguese food to you. Don't eat Portuguese food because it's all shellfish, actually.
Oh, yeah, I can't do that.
Did you listen back to any of it as a little reminder?
In classic ADHD fashion, listened for about 20 minutes right before I came over.
Good. That's better than most times.
Yeah.
Well,
I was like, shit, is this a part one? No, we wouldn't have waited this long if the last one was a part one. And then I looked and I was like, oh shit, the last one was a part one.
Yeah, we just been dying for a month and
Yeah,
pretty
much.
Well, hey, let's get started, shall we?
Yeah, man.
All right. So last week we went over the first handful of Jose Saramago's work. That's how I typed this up because it was different in my head when we would get to this. Well, we started with his first book, Manual of Painting and Calligraphy.
You just changed it. Why are you being a dick about it?
I'm blaming you.
Okay.
So, Manual of Painting and Calligraphy, which didn't gain him much attention due to its disastrously stupid title. Next, we went into his collection of short stories, The Lives of Things, including the story of objects that revolt against their masters. And finally, we delved into the novel that gave Saramago his worldwide fame, the 18th century love story Balthazar and Blamunda. And now, we move on to the 1991 tale, The Gospel According to Jesus Christ, which will throw the atheistic Saramago into controversy, as well as earn him his Nobel Prize for Literature.
Are we going to do edgelord atheist stuff this episode?
It's actually not that edgelordy.
Really?
Yes, which was surprising to literally everyone.
Okay. Everyone read the title, they're like, oh, fuck, here we go. Like,
Yeah. And we'll get into, pretty much why the controversy was stupid because of that, but The Gospel According to Jesus Christ itself follows a lot of the things we already know about Jesus from the Bible. His miracles, his disciples, his crucifixion. But instead of following those stories to a T, or a crucifix.
A lowercase t.
And just making fun of Christian fiction, there are things that Jose Saramago takes liberties with. He uses the biblical stories more as a foundation than anything. The biggest instance of this comes from chapter 2, where, quote, Mary lay on her back, listening, staring into space, as if waiting. Joseph quietly approached and slowly drew back the sheet. She averted her eyes, began to lift the hem of her tunic, and no sooner had she pulled it to her navel than he was on top of her, his own tunic hitched to his waist. That's right. The story begins with a sex scene between Joseph and the Virgin Mary. And I'm sure Saramago knew what he was doing. He knew how controversial this was going to be regardless. But I don't want you to get the wrong impression here. Saramago is not writing this story just to offend people. If he did, then he didn't do a very good job at it. He could have just as easily pointed out all the contradictions in the Bible and basically make a comedy out of it, but he didn't. Instead, the things he makes up are extremely poetic, And I had to stop a few times to look up if these things were in the Bible. For instance, the massacre of the innocents. In the Bible, King Herod learns from an oracle of a child being born in his city that will take the throne as the new king of the Jews. And Herod orders the execution of every child under the age of 2.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, it's a classic tale, and it's honestly just that quick in the original biblical text, too. It takes place over the course of, like, 3 lines. But in Saramago...
That's why that book sucks.
It's just full of ideas.
Bro, this is like a whole book right here. This is like... That was 3 lines. What's the rest of this shit?
Dude, you don't want to get into the book of Numbers.
Jesus Christ. The Bible is... The Bible... It reads like the Silmarillion. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's full of great ideas, but I mean, none of them are really fleshed
Organize
out.
this shit. God. Like...
Literally. But in Saramago's story, Joseph overhears 2 of King Herod's guards talking about his plan to kill all the children in the village, so he runs home to the cave on the outskirts of the city to hide Jesus and Mary away. In the Bible, this is actually the end of Joseph's story. He just doesn't show up again, and no one ever talks about it. Just Joseph's gone from the Bible. But in the Gospel according to Jesus Christ, Joseph is plagued by the fact that he never did anything to warn the other parents of the city of King Herod's plan. In fact, it turns out that the whole thing was Joseph's test from God, who says that his neglect to do anything but help himself makes him as good as the baby killers themselves. Thus, he is doomed to hell. For the rest of his life, Joseph has a recurring nightmare.
That's cool, God. You realize it took, like, in order to teach me a lesson, we killed an entire village full of children, right?
I mean, I don't know if you've ever read anything from the Bible, but that tracks.
This is like, you could have just talked to him. I don't know, man. Like,
so for the rest of his life, Joseph has this recurring nightmare, one in which he's dressed as a Roman soldier, leading the others triumphantly to the cave that holds his own wife and son to execute him. Years later, when Jesus is a teenager, Joseph goes to the town of Sepphoris to let a neighbor's family know that he's passed away. But along the way, Roman soldiers pick out Joseph randomly, believing that he's a rebel from the area trying to overthrow the empire. According to Saramago, Joseph is crucified just as his son will be, and the night that Joseph dies upon his cross, Jesus begins having a recurring nightmare that his father is a Roman soldier leading a legion to come and kill him. It's cool. It's poetic. Nowhere in the fucking Bible, though.
oh, yeah. Cool, poetic. Not in the Bible.
Yeah. Pretty okay with all 3 of those check marks being checked off for, like, all things, you know? Chainsaw Man. It's cool. It's poetic. It's not in the Bible. It's pretty fucking good, you know? In the Bible, there's a time jump from the time that Jesus is around 12 to about the time he's 29. And Saramago's book actually details what happens here. Jesus goes with his family to find his father's corpse and take it down from his cross. The only thing that Joseph left to inherit were his fucking sandals, already old and worn, but Jesus decides to wear them anyway. He essentially decides to go on a spiritual journey, fleeing to the desert with nothing but a knapsack that holds a clay bowl from which to drink. He's taken in by a sheep herder that has no name, going only by the name that Jesus gives him, Pastor. And here, Pastor begins to question the point of Jesus' faith, saying that out
I told
in the
you
desert,
my name, dude.
It's Frank Pastor. Frank Pastor.
Stop it. Jesus.
You can't just keep saying his name like that, Caleb. You're going to go to hell. Well, the pastor says that out here in the desert with no one around, why would you continue to pray and fast and sacrifice lambs to God? Who the fuck is going to tell on you if you don't? But one fateful day, Jesus, of course, meets God, represented by a column of smoke, who tells him that he cast magic on his daddy's jizz, so he's as good as his own kid. Not only that, but he tells Jesus that he's going to die slow and painfully, and there's nothing that he can do about it. Jesus is, of course, stunned and a little upset, but really finds little reason to continue being pastor's apprentice if he's got limited time here on earth. In Jesus' frustration as he leaves, he throws down the knapsack with his belongings in it down to the ground.
It's just a bowl.
Yeah, he accidentally breaks the bowl. But when Pastor sees this, he says something to the effect of, "The next bowl you own will be black, and it will not break."
Okay.
Now, Joseph's old sand, I mean, I feel like I would question that before I left. Like, I'm not in a damn hurry. Like,
Can you
what? Nah, fuck it, I don't care.
Can you tell me what... You haven't been talking any columns of smoke, have you? Like, what?
Now, Joseph's old sandals, of course, start to fall apart as Jesus travels the countryside. They weren't made for him, and the sandals start cutting his feet and leading him to rest wherever he can. Well, one fateful day, the place in which he rests just so happens to be the house of the prostitute Mary Magdalene. It is here that Jesus will receive his first disciple. Mary Magdalene and Jesus fall in love, and they travel the country looking to spread the word of God. Along the way, Jesus tells his mother of his fate as God's son, which she doesn't really believe. And when Jesus is about to leave, she's like, well, do you have everything you need? You got money, a place to stay? And he's like, yeah, I got what I need. And she's like, you still got a bowl that you can use for food and water, right? And Jesus kind of stutters a bit, thinking back on a pastor's prophecy about the black bull. And he's like,
you got any black bowls?
And he's like, not exactly. What have you got available? And it was at this point, though, I was kind of expecting her to be like, well, here, you can have this ominous black bowl. But instead, she's like, just pick one from the stack. And Jesus himself pulls the black bowl from the others. To me, this is kind of indicative of Jesus knowing that his fate is sealed and chooses to go along with it instead of fighting it. So anyway, the story goes on. Jesus performs his miracles and what have you. Water to wine, tons of fish, raising the dead, yada, yada, yada. But there's this one part near the end of the book that I want to talk about. And that's Jesus seeing a cloud of fog out on the River Jordan. He paddles out there, and as his boat comes to the center of fog, there is God. And God sits on like the edge of the boat, and like a dad who only gets like every other weekend with his kid, he's just kind of like, "Hey, how you doing, big guy?" You know?
You're a big guy.
And then Jesus,
you ready to die slow yet?
Just like my dad used to tell me. And then Jesus hears someone swimming out, like out.
That's
to the
how dads
fog.
work, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want you to get too jealous, but it's not great, you know? So Jesus hears something just swimming out in the water to them, and climbing into the boat is Pastor, who is, of course, really the devil. And God kind of has like a family meeting with these guys. The devil's there because he says that he sees all pasts and all futures, but he never knows which is the correct one. And he wants to know what's going to happen with Jesus. Now, God knows Jesus is frustrated with his situation, and at the end of the day, he just kind of wants him to be cool with it. Like, it's going to happen regardless. So God allows Jesus to ask him as many questions as he may have. And it's a deep philosophical chapter, but the one thing that stood out to me was that Jose Saramago, again, a lifelong atheist, gives good reason for Jesus' existence. Throughout the Bible, the story of Jesus just simply is. There really isn't an explanation for Jesus to exist when God can much easily come down himself and give the teachings that Jesus later gives. I mean, some would say the harrowing of hell, but again, God can do that. It's kind of the number one question in Christianity, just fucking why? Why do it this way? Isn't it kind of weird, roundabout way of forgiving everyone's sins? But this is Saramago's interpretation. He says that according to God, whatever God may do, the devil has free reign on fucking up his plans, and he can't do anything about it. Them's the rules. But with Jesus, God didn't really create a son. He created a tool that would spread the word of God and be given a story that people could remember for thousands of years. If Jesus is pulling off miracles, but God isn't, then the devil can't really mess with him. And Jesus asks if his death will even bring
God, this is stupid.
Fuck you, it's wonderful. I can see the fucking light in your eyes as you're just like, God, maybe Christianity is really cool, man. Maybe it's my thing. And you're just like, no, I gotta continue to be edgy. I can't. I know you're gonna go listen to fucking Evanescence later. That's okay. Or Flyleaf. Are those are Christian bands?
I don't know.
Creed.
Dude.
You're gonna listen to
Creed. Oh, hell yeah, I am. Let's go there.
And Jesus asks if his death will even bring about peace on earth. And God's like, oh, absolutely not. Tons of wars. Tons of wars. And so he asks God for a list of those who will die because of him specifically. And God rambles off an alphabetical list of like 100 saints. Quote, Clarus of Nates decapitated, Clarus of Vienne likewise, Clement drowned with an anchor around his neck, Crispin and Crispinian of Soissons both decapitated, Cucuffus of Barcelona disemboweled. Shut up. Don't make fun of Cucuffus. Cyprian of Carthage beheaded young Syracuse of Tarsus, killed by a judge who knocked his head against the stairs of the tribunal, and on reaching the end of letter C, God said, and so on. It's all much the same with a few variations on occasional refinement, which would take forever to explain, so let's leave it at that. No, continue, said Jesus. So reluctantly, God continued, abbreviating wherever possible. Donatus of Arezzo decapitated, Alyphius of Rampillin scalped, Emerita burned alive. The entire list, of course, in true Saramago style. It's 6 pages long in one paragraph. Now, at the end of the conversation, Pastor is about to jump into the water when he stops. Quote, getting to his feet, he was about to pass one leg over the side of the boat, but stopped and said, in your pack there is something that belongs to me. Jesus could not remember having taken the pack with him into the boat, but in fact there it was, rolled up at his feet. What thing, he asked, and on opening the pack...
Oh man, not my ball sack.
Open your sack, boy.
That's where I keep my bowls.
Upon opening the pack, he found nothing inside but the old black bowl he had brought from Nazareth. That's it, said the devil, picking up the bowl with both hands. One day this will be yours again, but you won't know you have it. He tucked the bowl inside his coarse shepherd's tunic and lowered himself into the water. When Jesus comes to shore, the people tell him that while he may have felt that he'd only been in the water for a few hours, he'd in reality been lost in the fog for 40 days and 40 nights. Any boat that came to his rescue was pushed ashore by the waves. Jesus' miraculous survival on the water leads to a crowd of believers, ones that would follow him to his crucifixion, where the book naturally ends. And in the Bible, Jesus' last words are aimed at those who wished for his execution, but in the novel, Jesus is instead speaking to his followers about the cruelty of God when he says, men, forgive him, for he knows not what he has done. Like, God is cruel. This is all part of his plan. There's nothing that we can do about it. The last 2 sentences of the book read, there was still some life in him when he felt a sponge soaked in water and vinegar moisten his lips, and looking down, he saw a man walking away with a bucket, a staff over his shoulder. But what Jesus did not see, on the ground, was the black bowl into which his blood was dripping. And I love how this ended because a lot of Renaissance paintings depict that scene, and the black bowl is, of course, the Holy Grail. So it all ties together. He did a wonderful fucking job of it. And actually, the book's first chapter is just a description of a random Renaissance art piece showing the crucifixion. But what's really fucking weird, though, is that, so I picked up this copy of the Gospel According to Jesus Christ from Powell's, and there was a photocopied picture of the exact work Jose Saramago was describing. He didn't say in the book which painting it was, doesn't mention the artist, so whoever owned this copy before me found which piece he was talking about and printed it, and then put it in the front of the book. And I went back and looked at all the other copies that were there, and none of them had it.
Nice.
So, I don't know. Must have been God. Anyway.
Must have been Oh, man, you're going to get all weird now.
So this is mostly an episode to try and talk to you about your sins. Actually, that would be a great podcast, just
Jordan,
going down the fucking list.
Jordan, you've been at my side.
Yes, but there was only one pair of footprints.
You've got a lot more to lose. That was when I jumped onto your back and whipped you to keep going. All right? I don't think you want to list any of this off.
Now, what to me is indicative of Saramago getting ahead of what he knew would be fierce controversy is how he opens the book with a quote from Pontius Pilate saying, "Quod scripsi scripsi, what I have written, I have written." Almost as if to tell the critics, fucking deal with it. But of course, that didn't stop the Vatican from releasing a statement denouncing the novel, calling Saramago a, quote, communist with a substantially anti-religious vision. But the Catholic Church wasn't even his greatest critic, or what would become his greatest enemy. That would be a politician named Aníbal Cavaco Silva. Now, Aníbal Silva...
Yeah, somebody's going to be pissed about Jesus' parents fucking.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Aníbal Silva, he's not the worst politician by any means. He introduced Portugal into the European Union. He oversaw a huge economic boom for the country. He even lifted the ban on abortion. But he is also extremely Catholic. And no matter how progressive you may be, if you're a politician, you're still scummy. So when the Gospel According to Jesus Christ was entered onto the short list of winners for the Aristean Prize, basically the book Oscars of Europe, then Prime Minister Silva personally struck Saramago from the list. Of course, Jose Saramago was more than a little pissed. In fact, he fully moved his ass out of Portugal and immigrated to the island of Lanzarote in the Canary Islands. Lanzarote is also called the Island of Eternal Spring, so it's not like, oh no. But regardless, he moved to the Spanish-held islands because of this. And it's here that he and his wife, Pilar del Rio, would reside for the rest of his life. Now, I'm not sure this wasn't a coincidence, but right after being censored by his own government, Jose Saramago set up 2 different foundations that same year in 1992. The National Front for the Defense of Culture in Lisbon and the European Writers' Parliament. The latter was established with Orhan Pamuk, a Turkish writer who would also become a Nobel Prize winner in 2006 and was also criticized by his government. Anyway, I couldn't find any resources about these groups that weren't in Portuguese, but they basically sound like unions for writers in Portugal and the rest of Europe. So, at least he did that. But it's not like the controversy from the book didn't do it any favors. I mean, a lot of people flocked to read it and found the book to be considered a classic. I'm sure this was the first Saramago book for a lot of people. And it's not a bad book to start off on either. It's beautifully written and has that classic Saramago humor. Like, I think Mary was asking one of the angels about Pastor, and the angel's like, Pastor? Oh. And she's like, do you know him? We went to school together. Shit like that. Anyway, well, Jose Saramago was riding high from his success on the Gospel According to Jesus Christ. He wrote another religious historical fiction in 1993 called In Nomine Dei, about the Munster Rebellion of 1534. Basically, it was, in real life, there was this petty fight from 2 different factions of the same religion, and it ended with, like...
Where at?
It was in Germany.
Oh, okay.
It ended with 3 dudes being hung in cages from the bell tower so the whole town could watch them starve to death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like old-timey shit.
Good medieval shit,
Yeah.
Those cages are actually still there. You can go see them. It's pretty fucking rad.
Old-timey German punishment, you say?
Don't you feel like we're kind of celebrating this horrible thing? No, it's just really cool. Like... it's really neat. It's really fucking cool. I don't know what I can't bring him down. And as Jose Saramago put it, quote,
it's our history. Yeah, it is.
Well, as he put it, and it's a good point, it was war in the name of a same god.
You guys think maybe like a little plaque or something?
No,
a little, hey, some shit happened here. No, keep the cages up. Whoa, okay.
I mean, the birds picked it clean. There's nothing else up there but the cages.
It's sanitary.
That's true, man. When it fucking rains and you're looking up at him and fucking water drop trips in your, fucking gets in your eye, you're like, oh no. Well, he felt the whole rebellion that happened, the so-called rebellion, it was so stupid. He said that after he finished the novel, he sat down and thought, blind. We are blind. And it's from this simple statement to himself, Saramago penned the story of what some have called his magnum opus. 1995's Blindness is simply the tale of nameless people in a nameless country going blind from a virus that the government can't control. And this is a lengthy quote, but it perfectly captures the mood. Quote, the green light came on at last. The cars moved off briskly, but then it became clear that not all of them were equally quick off the mark. The car at the head of the middle lane had stopped. There must be some mechanical fault, a loose accelerator pedal, a gear lever that is stuck, problem with the suspension, jammed brakes, breakdown in the electrical circuit, unless he has simply run out of gas. It would not be the first time such a thing has happened. The next group of pedestrians to gather at the crossing see the driver of the stationary car wave his arms behind the windshield, while the cars behind him frantically sound their horns. Some drivers have already got out of their cars, prepared to push the stranded vehicle to a spot where it will not hold up traffic. They beat furiously on the closed windows. The man inside turns his head in their direction, first to one side, then the other. He is clearly shouting something, to judge by the movements of his mouth. He appears to be repeating some words, but not one word, but 3, as turns out to be the case when someone finally manages to open the door. I am blind. The blind man is brought home by a good Samaritan who makes sure he's comfortable at home before telling him that he'll go move his car to safety, and then he just never comes back. So he just up and fucking steals his car.
I mean, to be fair, should he have it?
I mean, fuck, man. It's, it's one of those things where it's like, I never before have I really wanted to steal a car, but like, man, those are a lot of good circumstances that just kind of came up. You know, it's like he literally handed me the keys. No one will know I'm stealing his car. Like, God.
Sir, can you describe him to me? Never mind.
Exactly.
Like,
well, how did he sound? I don't know. I feel he was masking his voice by trying to sound like Jello Biafra. Well, I'll move your car. When the blind man's wife comes home, he explains the situation and they go to the hospital, where coincidentally the car thief is as well. He too has gone blind. As they get into a blindfolded boxing match, the virus spreads like wildfire to everyone else in the room. Now, for a book explaining a potentially deadly pandemic back in 1995,
that's what you get for not wondering why the blind dude had a car. Hey, shit, that was yours.
Yeah, that was mine.
Ha!
Oh, no, I was waiting for a text. Don't worry about it. Okay. It's all good. Now, for a book explaining a potentially deadly pandemic back in 1995, all I could think of while reading this is it's really fucking cute how Jose Saramago thought the government would, like, handle things. Like, they at least had some sort of plan in the book. But basically, when the virus starts to spread throughout the city...
You know, we used to. Up until around 2016, actually. I don't know what happened. But there were actually several steps in place to prevent something like that from happening, and then all of a sudden...
You know, you may make fun of that, but the reality is that every time something happened, the viruses like Zika, H1N1, they would be so contained by themselves that we just were like, what's the point of this fucking program? And so we just got rid of it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it was just they're wasting money.
Yeah, so stupid. Like, you know, man, I've been driving for years and years and years and years, and I've never once needed the seatbelt. Why don't I just fucking cut it out?
Yeah, right?
What the fuck?
They do sell those online for you to click to your fucking seatbelt so you don't hear the alarm. Fuck.
Like, okay.
God damn it.
Like,
anyway, I was about to get real depressing. Doesn't matter. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, when the virus starts to spread throughout the city, the government competently and swiftly quarantines the blind into an abandoned asylum away from the city until they can figure out what to do about it.
Okay, in our government's defense, it's a lot easier to quarantine people against their will when they can't fucking see.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you've seen what they do in, like, Shanghai and shit, right? Where they're just bolting people inside their apartments. And they're just like, but we're going to starve to death. Yeah. Yeah, that's the plan. Like,
wait, what?
Oh, man. So, I mean, they were hoping video wasn't going to get out, but it got out. And basically, when there was an outbreak in Shanghai, as soon as you, like, did a Red Scare, like, I heard my shitty fucking dickhead neighbor down the hall has COVID, the government just came in and they...
Neighbor who may or may not have fucked my wife, but that has nothing to do with this. Like,
no, they fully went in with, like, rebar and, like, just caged people inside of their own fucking apartments so that they couldn't leave. And they're just like, but what are we going to do about food? And they're like, not our problem. And then just left. There was good video of like
you aren't prepared for isolation. That's wow.
We've been kind of warning about this for a while.
Well,
There was one great video though of like, there was an apartment complex where they like, it was a fancier one. So they had like a pond or fucking fountain at like the bottom, like in the plaza, and like one of the guys had a fucking fishing line that he like, and there are fish in there like koi or something, and he fucking caught one from like 13 stories up and fucking like reeled it in. I'm sure that worked like once, you know, but still, it made for a great video. He's dead, but it made for a great video.
You telling me that the government there was straight up starving people in their homes because of COVID?
Yeah. This is China.
Yeah.
Not the book. This is what
I know.
happened. Yeah.
And where did you see this?
Online.
Just online.
Yeah, I mean...
Jordan, when you say shit like that, you can't just say online.
Live leak.
Okay, like...
I just wanted to see more industrial accidents and, you know...
In the context of the video, so like, did
I'm
you
not
do
gonna...
any research on or follow up on whether or not
Yes.
they brought them food, or were you just like...
they didn't. But what did end up happening, though, was that enough people were basically getting out that now the current situation is that China is actively extraditing their COVID patients outside of the country just to other countries. They don't give a fuck anymore. They're just trying to get them out of China. So we've actually got a new worldwide spread that's jumping up like 54%.
Jordan, I don't know about the validity of these claims, man. This sounds a little wild.
Because you never heard about it before, and I'm telling you what's been happening in the last 2 months over the course of 15 seconds.
No. That's not why. It's because it has the cadence of bullshit. Like, why would they do that?
So, well, the craziest thing, Obama's flying the plane. All right.
Yeah, that's the kind of like, that's the ring to it that this has. Like,
if I sent you articles, would you read them? I mean, honestly.
Actually, maybe.
Really?
Depending on
I
the source. But if I look at the website and I'm like, oh, they probably also have articles about Area 51, I'm going to be like, no.
I do enough of that, all right? Look, I'm not as bad as some like 65-year-old guy.
As some men that may or may not have been on the podcast before.
Yeah, pretty much. No, hundreds of people are left to fend for themselves in the asylum with no doctors and no one knowing how to be blind. And yeah, they're told they've got bathrooms, so they should be fine, but it's very quick before people just decide to shit in any corner they can get to. Like, I don't know if you know this, but a blind person, you know, hey, how do they know when they're finished wiping? It's because they like kind of do like a little cupping gesture, and when they wipe, they fold it and see if it sticks. If it doesn't stick, then they're done wiping.
I imagine you would just get real good at like feeling the wetness of your own asshole.
I would get depending on the consistency, but I would just get a fucking bidet.
Like a blind samurai, except for, you know, at wiping your ass. You know, like the rest of your senses are enhanced.
Weird,
you know,
analogy, but yes,
yeah,
I
like
get
you get really good at like feeling that. Or like, and if they're gonna wash their hands anyway, no. I really want to go over the hypothetical scenario of washing your ass.
Somebody
while
shit
blind.
in that sink and you just don't know it. Like there's poop everywhere within a fucking few hours.
Also, I'm a little taken aback. I took you as a 2 wipes and it's good guy.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I mean, how many does it take you? Of course, it's 2 wipes.
Yeah, 2 wipes and it's good.
Yeah,
exactly.
Duh.
So where did you get the?
Huh?
Why are you thinking that there would be?
Oh, because they're European. I figured that they would.
Did they look?
Huh? Oh, of course they care about, you know. They care about clean buttholes.
Okay, no. I haven't had much to say this episode because we are talking about this writer. If we're talking about taking a shit,
Jordan, I have got books to show you.
If I may step in now, I am not sure how many other dry countries there are, but I'm pretty sure like over in fucking Europe, most of those places are bidet people actually. So this is completely fucking irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like how
Yeah.
like.
I mean, it says an unnamed country.
Okay.
It's basically a it could happen to you type story.
But also, I mean, as long as there's running water, I mean, really all you'd have to do is fucking, like, put your hand in there and then just kind of gauge by how bad it smelled afterwards and then just wash your fucking hands.
Fuck. Oh, man.
Look, man.
I'm moving on.
Okay, wait, no, hang the fuck on. Hang on. No, in this scenario, look, if the fucking sink can't wash off actual shit from my fucking hands, what's the point in doing it regardless? You know what I'm talking like?
Wait a second. No. Are you actually just defending yourself from not washing your hands? Is that what you're doing right now?
No.
Fucking ugh.
I would never do that when your wife could notice.
Have you smelled Caleb lately? Just drop an earring near his pants and just fucking take a little whiff.
God, you guys are insane. Of course I wash my hands. Caleb, there is shit on your hand.
I thought I was blind. Why did you think you were blind?
I thought I was blind. I'm a blind samurai.
The Duke of Dookies. Now, when it comes to food, the military hands out rations as the blind somehow learn to form a line. But when a couple of soldiers eventually go blind as well, a bunch of the afflicted are gunned down in frustration as they wait in line. Like the army turns out to be just full of a bunch of like, you know, people who really want to shoot shit, and they're like, God, man, they're all just standing in a line.
Jesus Christ. That's so unprofessional, man. Look, just take that to the police force. Not the armed forces, for Christ's sake.
Soldiers have a reputation of these kind of things.
Actually, soldiers
bring these problems to a cop.
Soldiers have a reputation of actually not aiming at people because they don't actually want to fucking kill them. Like, that's a problem.
I feel like
cops, on the other hand,
I feel like a lot of times, like when squads are out there in like fucking the Middle East and shit, they're just like, oh man, they're shooting at us. Draw straws. How many of us are gonna like actually just lay down covering fire? Johnny's got to flank him. Johnny's the killer. All right.
Like I forget what is it like? How many rounds are expended per like casualty inflicted?
It's huge. Yeah. It's a huge number. Yeah, most are made to miss.
Yeah, exactly. Like the entire point of like those fucking like huge machine guns isn't to kill people; it's just to put down a wall that they can't move through.
Yeah. Well, anyway, what rations are dumped on the blind basically just start to dwindle. Eventually the army just says like, fuck it, you guys don't get daily rations. We're just going to move a pallet and fucking call it good. And so those rations, they start to go out. And of course, a group of blind in a certain wing of the asylum decide to become a gang, choosing to be the ones to distribute food themselves, which of course leads to a multitude of murders and rapes.
Which of course leads to a multitude of rape. Like, what the fuck? What was that, Jordan?
What? I'm just saying, like, yeah, so they form a gang. They start to do the gang shit where they're like, we can do whatever we want. We hold all the power. They form their own systems of government. It's all got a reason behind it. But now the book itself follows a small group of these people, again, without names, but given titles such as the doctor or the doctor's wife or the boy with the squint, things like that. During the start of the pandemic...
Why is he called the boy with the squint?
Because he squints his eyes, because he's a moron.
Who can fucking tell?
Oh, I'll get to that, actually. So the doctor, an optometrist, is forced into the asylum, but his wife goes with him, even though she's not afflicted. And it's never really explained why. But honestly, I think that makes it more realistic to me. That the virus is never detailed in how it happens, why the wife is immune, or why the virus, by the end of the novel, just fucking goes away. But before we get to that, like I mentioned before, the doctor's wife is the only one who can see in the asylum, and she does her best to hide it, knowing that she might get the Ellie treatment from The Last of Us, but more importantly, she'll get separated from her husband. Eventually, the military stops all communication with the people inside the asylum, and the afflicted realize that the military is trying to starve them out. This leads to a riot within the walls of the asylum where a fire breaks out and people have to decide whether to leave and be shot by the military or stay to burn. Pick your poison. But as our group of main characters venture outside, I feel like you're like, Caleb, we're either going to get shot or burned. What's your choice? And you're just over there by the toilet like, no, see, if your hand ain't stinky. But as our group of main characters venture outside, they find out why the food stopped coming and contact from the military ceased in the first place. The military just fucking left and didn't tell anybody. They've been gone for who knows how long.
Yeah, so they can totally run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they venture inside the city. The group finds the world practically abandoned. The virus was not contained to the asylum as they were hoping, and the virus has spread potentially worldwide. It's just as dangerous on the streets as it was in quarantine, but the group manages to pick up a stray dog, one that keeps them protected in exchange for food and shelter, much like has been the agreement between dog and man for last
scratches and hisses me a lot. But
several thousand years, yeah. Saramago calls him the dog of tears because he licked the tears away from the doctor's wife's face, but I think he just knew it sounded cool and he wanted an excuse to say that. I am the dog of tears. Well, anyway, the group tries to make their way to each individual's house to grab what they need, led by the doctor's wife. At one point, meeting an old woman who used to keep rabbits as pets, but resorts to feasting on them raw instead of braving the outside world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And eventually, as I mentioned before, as the group rests in the doctor's home, the virus just leaves. It leaves, and that's literally just the end of it.
Are these people permanently blind, though, or?
No, it goes away.
So the blindness goes away, and they're just...
Fine.
Where's the rest of the people, though? Did everybody else die, or?
No. Oh, in the asylum, yeah, the ones that stuck around.
Yeah, the ones that stuck around in the fire.
Oh, yeah, they burned to death. And that's what happens in fires. Okay. Yeah.
But and then when they left the asylum and they were just wandering around from home to home, were there any people around?
Yeah, there were some people.
Normal people.
They were also blind. Yeah.
Oh, just
just everyone got fucking blind except for like the doctor's wife, and then just by the end of the book, they're like, all right, so we've got like 2 other homes to hit, and then like somebody was just like, holy shit, and they're like, what? And they're just, I think I could see.
So what happened to the blind people jail is that all the people guarding the blind people jail called out the same day, and then before they could let the blind people know that everybody just called out on the same day because they were all blind, the dude who would call them to tell them that was also called
honestly,
out.
I think it makes most sense to not even have the answer there. Just all of a sudden they're gone. More than likely what happened was that people started going blind within their ranks, and they weren't sure how to handle the situation. Maybe others fucking fled the scene. Don't know. But, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason behind who's chosen to be blind, why it happens, or even why it leaves. And I think that's the most realistic thing.
Well, no. There is rhyme or reason why. It's just that most people aren't going to be bothered with knowing that.
Yeah, exactly. And we're taking it from the standpoint of just regular-ass people.
Okay.
Like, we're not immunologists. The only reason
is that a thing? Did you make that up?
No, it's people who
don't you make up words and tell me they're a thing.
Imbreathiate. Caleb.
Don't use your powers for no. Don't use your powers for
I'm
evil.
white. I can make up whatever I want. I can do this.
Jesus, I don't know.
What?
You're looking a little uncomfortable and red there, man. You hiding something from me?
Shut up. No. Shh.
You telling lies again, Whitey?
It's all I do. I've never... None of these people exist. Helen Keller was made up, dude. Like...
That would be very rude. That would be the rudest thing.
I don't know. We did have Anne Frank in the first season there.
That'd explain why
the book
people
Blindness.
don't like me a lot. If I had all this like fake information in my head. Things are starting to come together now.
The book Blindness became a new age instant classic. Shut up. I'm going blind. It continues to win awards to this day simply because the story keeps getting adapted to the stage and screen. People in Hollywood immediately jumped on the rights to the movie, but Saramago refused them all, including, for some reason, Whoopi Goldberg? She really wanted to do the movie.
She direct it, or
she didn't do it at all, but she contacted him. She was like, "Hey man, it's 1995 and I want to do your book." And he's like,
"Fuck you, I hate Next Gen."
he's like, "Sorry, Whoopi Goldberg." Like, I don't know. And he guarded this story for a good reason. It takes place, as I said, in an unnamed city with no indications of where or what time period it takes place, because he wanted the story to be something recognized by any person in any country at any time. But in 1997, 2 years after the book's release, a couple filmmakers went to Saramago's home in the Canary Islands, and after just 2 days, they flew out with the rights to the film. It turns out that there were just two things that were really important to Saramago that he wanted the film to get right. One was that the story take place in an unidentified city or country. And two, that the dog of tears be a big dog. Which it was. The part was
a big boy.
Yeah, the part was played by what looks to be like a large Scottish terrier named Barney. I looked it up on IMDb.
Scottish terrier?
Yeah, but a large one. There's actually 3 different sizes of Scottish terrier.
Huh.
Yeah.
Damn.
It turns out they have large ones. I looked up what are they different classifications?
Oh, those the mustache ones with man face?
They're the ones that almost look like they have like stump feet because they're the the curly hairs on their arm just go straight into stumps.
Oh yeah. I got you. Yeah.
I looked into classifications like, are they called different things? And it's like you can get them. There's the breed of large Scottish Terrier, medium Scottish Terrier, or small Scottish Terrier. So they chose a large one.
Wow, dude.
And his name's Barney.
That conversation sucked. I'm sorry for starting it. My bad, man.
Well, the movie took 10 years to complete, released in 2008 and starring...
What are the sizes of French fry, Jordan?
Well, it's interesting because there's actually 4 sizes because the kid size is different from a small.
No. The joke was that I knew you would know this.
It starred Julianne Moore and Mark Ruffalo. And despite it being a well-made movie, it still received very mixed reviews, partly for a brutal rape scene that the director puts in halfway through the movie. Now, I haven't seen it, but apparently the original scene caused 50 people from the test audience to walk out alone.
Dude,
so the director went back and shortened it a little bit. Okay,
maybe, I don't know. Have you seen, that sounds like...
hang on. This is the guy who made City of God, by the way.
Oh, fuck.
So I know he probably wanted it to be fucking brutal, but he couldn't have people just walking out of the theater, so,
Let's scale it down a bit, like...
Yeah, a little bit. But apparently Jose Saramago was shown the film, and he fucking loved it. It moved him to tears to see a story of his adapted for the big screen. But there were a couple associations for the blind that picketed the movie, saying that, quote, blind people do not behave like uncivilized, animalized creatures. But of course, that's not what the story is about. It's about how shitty people are when placed in shitty situations.
Okay, yeah, and also the other thing, man, these aren't blind people. These are people that have been blind for a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, yeah, I would be mad. I would be a dickhead.
I would be a bit confused for a while.
I would be pretty mad at taking it out on others. I would.
Give me like a year or two of figuring out how to live like that. I'd probably be a normal, reasonable human being. But if you just fucking drop that on me at 29, I'm going to freak the fuck out.
It takes me a while. It doesn't take a whole hell of a lot to make me mad now. You know, like if you all of a sudden made me blind and they're just like, hey, Jordan, you keep bumping into walls. It's like, well, then I'm going to start throwing fucking elbows down the hallway so that I don't bump into anything. I hope no one gets in my fucking way.
Jordan's disrespecting his surroundings.
I've already disrespected my body. I mean, yeah,
but buddy,
I'm getting sad. No, but so I mean, yeah. So like I said, though, it's about bad. Like people are just like this, though. It's real. Like you saw how fast the fucking toilet paper lasted when the pandemic started. Like Saramago dismissed the protest, though. He was saying stupidity doesn't choose between the blind and non-blind, which is exactly the point. I feel that was kind of a double diss. Like he was saying what the novel is literally about while calling the protesters stupid, though. You know. Now, after the tremendous success of the novel Blindness, Jose Saramago was the recipient of the Camões Prize, which apparently is the biggest prize for literature that you can win for the entire country of Portugal. In fact, when you win, you also receive $100,000, making it one of the richest literary prizes in the world.
Okay, yeah, so he gets a Portugal one, but he was kicked out of like the big boy award for
because of the fucking prime minister.
because of the Virgin Mary sex, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, it was hot. No. To follow this up, Saramago released a book in 1997 called All the Names, about a man who works at a registry office that holds a card detailing the birth and death of every person who ever existed. However, he comes across a card that simply says unknown woman, and the book is his investigation into finding out who this woman is. After All the Names was released, the Nobel Committee didn't have much of a reason not to give Saramago the prize for literature, much to the chagrin of Prime Minister Silva, who still fucking hated his guts. He received the news that he'd won the Nobel Prize while he was on a book tour, and both he and his editor were apparently very surprised. They were like, why? But the reason the Nobel Committee gives is that Saramago has, quote, parables sustained by imagination, compassion, and irony, which enables us to once again apprehend an illusory reality. Of course. What they're saying
fucking
is
what?
What they're saying is that his stories are so much fun that it makes you appreciate life.
Get the fuck out there. My bad, dude.
It's like 7 words, and it's just immediately like, oh, cool, we're putting in all the $10 words.
Okay, wait, hang on a second. No. One of the problems this episode is like the shirt you're wearing right now looks like it's actually a technical manual of something, and that actually interests me. But it's actually a fucking Gundam.
Yeah, I can button
so
it up.
It's like a novelty thing. It's distracting, and it looks like something I might actually want to read.
You know, my eyes are up here, actually.
Okay, yeah.
Something you might actually want to read.
Yeah,
that's a fucking lie.
Fuck off. Look, man, I'm cool with numbers and shapes.
So, I mean, which both to the point that they were making and Saramago's surprise, he was a lifelong pessimist. He hated the world and everyone in it. So he was a little like, hey, cool, you know? Now, some have stated that Saramago's selection as the recipient of the Nobel Prize was kind of a doubling down on the committee's part. You see, a year before this, in 1997, the Nobel Prize for Literature was given to Italian playwright Dario Fo, who had been on the receiving end of the Vatican's ire for making fictionalized accounts of Jesus' life, same as Saramago. And this is also around the time that all those sexual abuse cases from the Catholic Church were being reported on in the news. So both Dario Fo and Jose Saramago awarding of the Nobel may have been political.
So wait, okay, so like public domain rules do not apply to Jesus as a character then?
It does. They're not the fucking publishers. It's the Vatican, you know?
I know, but this is strange.
You can.
Because wait, didn't Mormons make a bunch of shit up recently too?
Recently.
Like a while ago, like recently to scale.
Yeah, 200 years ago, but yeah.
Yeah. Exactly, like.
Yeah. I
mean, wait, you can't write your own shit about Jesus and just fucking publish it? Why not?
Of course they can. Vatican's mad about it though. They're mad about Mormons too.
It's Jesus fan fiction.
Yeah.
But he's making profit off of it.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not public domain.
It is public domain.
Then he can make profit off of it.
Of course. They're just mad about it.
Okay.
They're allowed to be mad, you know? Like, it's like that thing, like, when we were going over, like, J.M. Barrie or whatever, when after Peter Pan, like, stopped becoming public domain or something, like, people wrote a bunch of Peter Pan shit, and a bunch of Peter Pan, like, enthusiasts, I guess, which are weird Disney adults, I guess, were just like, you can't do that. And it's like, they can. He was weird. They're weird. You're all weird.
Legally, yes, I can, and I will. Because I don't want to go to a regular job. Fuck that.
I want to say Winnie the Pooh, like, just lost public domain not too long ago, and, oh, man. Ooh, I'm going to write some fan
Now we
fiction.
can make profit off Winnie the Pooh pornography.
Before, I didn't make a single dime. I'm just walking around without pants and a red shirt.
No Pooh Baron, dude. No Pooh Baron ever.
So, yeah, it's... I mean, people were pointing out that maybe the Nobel Committee was doing a fucking, like, you know, a political statement, but it's not like Saramago didn't... It's not like he deserved it and didn't deserve it any less. The Vatican dismissed the the committee's selection, stating that they were just doing it because it was cool to hate on the church. But when the committee asked the Vatican questions on the literary or aesthetic nature of his work, they never responded. Saramago did, though. He said, "I respect those who believe, but I have no respect for the institution." He did give a wonderful speech, though. Basically, he went through like a list of the characters from his books and what he learned from each of them. For H, the main character from Manual of Painting and Calligraphy, he learned his own limitations, that he cannot write about the things he does not know. From the farming family from Risen from the Ground, he learned patience, and so on. Saramago was given about $1 million along with his medal. He said in his speech, quote, "This prize is for all speakers of Portuguese, but while we're on the subject, I shall keep the money." And since he was already knighted in Portugal, they upped his rank, which I didn't know you could actually do. Like, do I get double knighted? No, you're just like a colonel. Oh, sick. You know. So he was commander.
Double knight commander.
Can I just call me Space Marine? No.
No, you will never be a Space Marine. Ah!
Fuck you, Dad! So he was commander of the Military Order of St. James of the Sword for his work in the 80s, but now he's Grand Collar of the Military Order of St. James.
How far does he have to go to get to Grand Wizard?
Yeah, you know the Imperial Dragon? I don't like these robes, guys. These are a little weird.
This is weird.
Well, in 2000, Saramago released The Cave. Now, I'm not going to explain to you Plato's allegory of the cave, all right? I'm not going to go there. But for everyone else out there, basically, it's about a family business that provides the clay puppets used in that scenario. It's very...
Wait, I'm sorry, fucking...
what? Don't worry, dude. It's extremely pretentious. It sounds really interesting, but when I was reading what it's about, I'm like... Oh, fuck me. Like,
okay, one more time. What the fuck is it about?
Plato has this thought exercise called the allegory of the cave, about people chained up and they see shadows on the walls projected in front of them, but they can't turn and look at who's doing it. And they just kind of, it doesn't matter. But it's basically about a family that makes those puppets for the thought experiment in real life, which never happened. I know, dude, super...
I'm sorry. I was just like...
Look, I love Jose Saramago, but when I read that, I was like,
it's about somebody in the background of the fucking... like,
yeah, all I heard were fart noises the whole time. It's crazy. In 2000...
It's a fucking... an anal cacophony.
In 2000...
Go on, please.
Is that triggering for you? In 2002... Saramago released the book The Double, about a man who finds out that he has a doppelganger. They have the same voice, same birthmark, same birthday. No, they don't suck each other's dicks. That's not where I'm going. And unfortunately, they're both extreme bastards, and they want to be the only one left standing. And while I haven't read the book, I am going to spoil the ending because I like it, but basically one of the guys does successfully kill the other and covers it up. And then later on, he gets a phone call from another guy that sounds exactly like him. And the guy's like, "Oh my God, I finally found you."
I don't know. What would you do in this scenario, Jordan?
Suck each other's dicks, duh. Like,
I mean, that's okay. That's the low hanging fruit. I mean, everybody and the low hanging fruit question would be like would you rather fight or fuck yourself? But
it's the fight or fuck response.
I would just be really excited to have a good roommate.
Oh man, no way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
well, I mean,
not be able to live with yourself.
Whoa. Yes, I would.
I wouldn't be able to do that. Not
for
me.
It's definitely not two of me. But fantastic. You just click with him. You click with yourself. It'd be fine.
If I had an unknown twin that I suddenly discovered, we would. I would have to say we would probably just fuck with people. Nothing more than that, honestly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I would definitely never tell anybody, dude. I'd fucking split work. I'd only work fucking half the time, and I'd send him in the rest of the fucking time.
That is a great idea.
It'd be amazing. We still get full benefits.
Yeah, dude, I could actually get a bunch of like shit done.
Dude,
like
you could have like full relationships with people, and then like just send the other dude in for the other half of the time. You guys could just like flip flop, and then just dick around and do whatever the fuck you wanted the other time.
Yeah, you could like, kind of fulfill your obligation as a house husband because one of you is always there. You know,
just fucking flip shit.
The problem is that you're both pooping at the same time.
Fucking 2-bathroom apartment, buddy.
So this book actually got adapted to a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal in 2013 called Enemy, which no one has ever watched. It got better reviews than the book did, apparently, though, so it must be pretty good. In 2002, the same year that Saramago released The Double, he made some comments about the Israeli government concerning their treatment of Palestinians.
Oh, no.
I know. I would be remiss to not name this. Now, more specifically, he said that we can, quote, put them on the same plane as what happened at Auschwitz. They have turned into rentiers of the Holocaust. This spread a rumor, most purported by the Israeli government, that Jose Saramago was anti-Semitic. But he clarified, saying, quote, to have said that Israel's actions is to be condemned, that war crimes are being perpetrated, really Israelis are used to that. It doesn't bother them. But there are certain words that they can't stand. It was the fact that I put my finger in the Auschwitz wound that made them jump. So, could have been done a little bit more tactful. Dude, nobody's actually out there like, hey, good job, Israeli government, for your treatment of Palestinians. You could have done it different.
You know? I'm out right now.
Did it? I mean, did it fucking...
I'm not going here. I'm not. No.
All I'm saying is
like, this.
Like, it's not like they're not used to hearing that, and it's like you didn't have to do anything that.
Yeah. What year was that?
2002. Actually, that may have been a little bit ahead of the game for everyone else. That's true,
dude.
And yeah. I'm gonna take a little couple extra sips here if you want to just talk about how you're.
No.
No, go ahead and talk about it.
Nope, don't do that. Don't do that. Definitely don't do that with something that's broadcasted over the internet ever. That's gonna be a no from me, Jordan, on ever discussing my stance there.
That's weird because it feels like you just talk about
nonstop. No, it don't. That's a lie. That's a lie, and you're a fat, lying piece of shit bastard. Nope, I do not. Out. No.
Okay. Moving on. In 2004, Saramago released a sequel to Blindness called Seeing. And from what I can gather, it's about how the citizens of the unnamed country from the first book realize the complete ineptitude of their government, so they just cast blank ballots in the election and no one's elected to anything, I think. I don't know, but it got really, really good reviews, and Ursula Le Guin apparently fell in love with it, so.
Fucking who?
She was a sci-fi writer, the Left-Handed Darkness. Don't worry. We'll get there eventually, maybe. I've never read any of her work. I mean, I just know my brother's really into it.
Oh. Which brother?
I have one.
I thought you had several. Who were all those guys at your wedding?
Oh, I don't fucking know.
I thought you were all related to each other.
Yeah, as cousins.
Oh, whoa, shit, cousins, right?
Yeah. I just have several brothers, like... Man, and the problem is that we all look like some form of farmer, too.
You all look the same to me.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's fine when you say it.
It totally is.
No. Anyway.
Don't worry, we're getting the 23andMe results back soon. We're going to find out I'm 100% white, and then you're going to beat my ass.
50% Chihuahua.
50% gay.
So as good as all of Saramago's works are, only a handful are considered classics in his collection. Balthazar and Blamunda, The Year of the Death of Ricardo Reis, The Gospel According to Jesus Christ, and Blindness. But now in 2005, he would release another, Death with Interruptions. I haven't read this one, but I really fucking want to. So once again, in an unnamed country, at the stroke of midnight of the new year, people erupt into their annual celebration. But as the hours go by, the hospitals realize something strange, and so do the police. And as the days go by, the newspapers start to realize it as well, and then the people begin to notice it themselves. Since the new year, no one in the entire country has died. And it's not for a lack of trying. I mean, people are getting shot and stabbed and shit, but even those with tremendous head wounds aren't dying. And when the news first spreads, the people of the country celebrate. We, as a civilization, have finally conquered death. But it has its immediate repercussions. The people who run funeral homes...
Y'all better stop fucking.
Exactly. The people who run funeral homes are now out of a job now, sure, but the healthcare workers...
Honestly, I think it would take a couple of years to back up we have now, but...
Written before then.
If you told that to fucking a funeral home director right now, they'd be like, thank you fucking God. Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't slept in 2 years. Oh my God.
But the healthcare workers of the nation realize that with no one dying, it doesn't mean that they still don't get old and sick. It means that the care homes will start filling up rapidly because none of the older residents are fucking dying. And of course, the Catholic Church is worried what this may mean for business. If you're not going to either heaven or hell, then who the fuck needs you?
We're in hell right now.
Ooh, brother, we're in it. Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, a small underground group is supposedly commissioned by the nation's government. With no one dying within their borders, their society will collapse.
The American government's like, no, fuck that. I bet you we can kill someone.
The American government is just trying its hardest.
I got fucking $1 trillion over here saying I can still kill a motherfucker.
So anyone who should be dead, people shot in the head, people who are old or sick, this outside underground group, they come from outside the country, they kidnap these people, and then they bring them across the border.
Bullshit. Nobody got sucked into a wood chipper for a year?
They don't die. And as soon as they cross that border, those people, they immediately die. So this goes on.
What border?
Like
the border to where?
The country itself. It's only people within that border are not dying.
Okay.
So the government is like, we need people like extradited. So they pay outside groups to come pick people up, kidnap them, and drive them across. As soon as like they should have died, like anyone who shouldn't have died, if they drive them across the border, they don't die.
So you have to give them a serious fucking head injury that would kill them, and then drive them over an imaginary line.
You just shoot them in the head, and then they go, "What? Oh no! Are we going on a road trip?" Yeah, pretty much that. So this goes on for a little while before Death herself, yes, she sends a letter to a national newspaper saying, "Okay, look, I was on vacation. I thought this wouldn't be so bad. Sorry, but look, this little experiment has made me realize a few things." People are getting pretty nasty with their deaths when they're left to their own devices. So here's the deal. From now on, I'll make the deaths less gruesome myself, all right? And a week before your scheduled death, I will now send you a personal letter so that you can get your affairs in order. Now, this should be a great update to how we die now, but instead, the nation erupts into panic. Some people love not dying, and they have been toying with their immortality quite a bit. Just fucking trying to brush my teeth. Can't do it if I don't have no teeth. Bang!
Dude, if I found that out before everybody else, do you have any fucking idea how much money I would have made? Jesus Christ.
Man, I skydive without a chute, man. It would have been great. But now that all these people are mortal again, they're guaranteed to be the first to go, and now they have to live with a week of anxiety waiting for their turn to go. But Death keeps her word on it. She goes about sending the letters, and at least no one's falling into wood chippers anymore, as you mentioned. It's odd that you mentioned that, and I actually wrote that.
You know how long it takes somebody to go through a wood chipper?
Yeah, about 2 seconds?
No, on average, a second and a half, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's not the Fargo thing.
I know. I saw his, he's trying to push the leg through, and I'm like,
No.
No.
As soon as it hits that wheel, dude.
Yeah, bones are bones are a lot more brittle than wood.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah. The rest of you is just stuff.
Well, yeah, we'll tell him that's what happened to you. But one day, Death finds an anomaly. One of the letters has been marked "Return to Sender." Like, she gets a letter back. And she looks at it and realizes that it's
why not, man?
It's this old cellist that should have been taken by old age, but his time comes and goes, and he's still not dead. So she sends another letter, and he just keeps sending it back, and he's still not dead. Now, this shouldn't happen regardless. The letters themselves aren't magical. They're just a little nicety to let you know when your time is up. But still, the old man doesn't die. To investigate, Death turns herself into a human woman. And
Death needs to just stop putting her name on the envelope.
It turns out he does the same thing with the IRS too, man. It sucks. You know?
Like, you just get the envelope and you're like, oh shit, it's from Death. Let me open it. Like, no.
So she turns herself into a woman, manages to catch up with the old cellist, introduces herself, makes friends, even falls in love. And the book ends with the day after Death falling in love, saying that no one died that day. The end. And in 2006, Saramago released Small Memories, his memoirs of his summers in Azinhaga as a child. The novel was originally going to be called The Book of Temptations because it deals with the temptations you come face to face with in childhood, like stealing and shooting birds with slingshots, that kind of shit.
Yeah, childhood, totally.
Yeah. He even talks about the time he went to the Mafra Basilica as a kid, only for it to later become a major part of Balthazar and Blamunda.
The fucking what?
It was the church that they built that in Balthazar and Blamunda.
Okay, thanks for fucking clearing that up. What?
Yeah. Well, hey man, you don't know. Fuck.
Dude, even if we went over it in the last episode, shit, it's been a month.
Yeah, actually,
I'm so sorry.
As it turns out, what I found out from this book, Saramago and I have actually a near identical scar on our right index finger from cutting cork.
Cutting cork?
Yeah, he was like making like a toy boat or something like that. Like he was cutting shit out of cork. He was whittling as a child from Azinhaga do. Okay. I, on the other hand, I had some friends call me up one time. They were like, hey, we just stole this wine from Thriftway. Do you want to drink it with us? We're like in high school. I'm like, yeah. And so they brought it over and it's three little dudes and we drank like half a bottle of wine. I look at the clock. I'm like, my dad's going to be here soon. We got to take this out to the woods. And like my one friend was like, wait a second. Doesn't a cork make an airtight seal? I was like, yeah. He was like, so we put air in the bottle. Now that we took the cork out, we can't put the cork back in. I was like, fuck, you're right. We're going to have to cut a hole in it. So I'm like, I'm drunk as shit. Like,
that's how it works, man.
And I'm like,
you can't have air in this, man.
I am pressing my Swiss Army knife as hard as I can into this cork. And it, of course, closes on my finger. Luckily, I was so drunk. All I saw was the blood and tendons. I had no feeling. I was like, oh no, they're going to be so mad.
Like, oh, my dad's going to be fucking pissed.
You know what I told them happened? I was walking the dog.
And then a Puerto Rican jumped out.
I fell. I made this horrible cut. My dad later on was like, yeah, you were really scared. You were slurring your words and shit. And I'm like, yeah. And it's like he was clearly telling me that he knew. You know?
Oh, yeah. Your parents always knew. They just never gave a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That goes for everybody. Like,
I grew up with my dad telling me stories about, like, as a kid, he stole beer to sell to his sister. Like, that was how he made money at 7. You know? Like,
look, man, punk shows cost money.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the book, Small Memories, is, of course, written in his classic style of, wait, no, let me back up. That memory isn't correct. And there's no chapters, just little vignettes sectioned off. But there's this short one that I really find beautiful that goes like this. There you were, Grandma, sitting on the sill outside your house, open to the vast, starry night, to the sky of which you knew nothing, and through which you would never travel, to the silence of the fields and the shadowy trees, and you said, with all the serenity of your 90 years and the fire of an adolescence never lost, the world is so beautiful, it makes me sad to think I have to die. In those exact words, I was there.
Damn, that's nice.
Right?
What the fuck?
I love him. He's such a good writer. In 2007, the Jose Saramago Foundation was established. Yeah, right? Really recommend his books. I know you won't read a single one, my God.
I won't.
They're super, super good. And in 2007, the Jose Saramago Foundation was established, not only promoting Portuguese culture, but being outspoken on human rights violations across the world as well. And Saramago was very candid about those issues, especially about the privatization of everything when it comes to the United States. Privatized healthcare, privatized schools, privatized prisons. It's not that the United States is the only country doing this, but it is by far the biggest offender. He had a great quote on this in which he said, quote, "Privatize everything. Privatize the sea and the sky. Privatize justice and the law. Privatize the passing cloud. Privatize the dream, especially if it's during the day and open-eyed. And finally, for the embellishment of so many privatizations, privatize the United States. Surrender once and for all their exploitation to private companies through internal share offering. There lies the salvation of the world. And while you're at it, privatize your whore mothers." God bless him. In 2008, never mind.
You know
what?
What?
No.
What?
It's pretty much just his joke, but lamer. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I was going to talk about how you privatized your whore mother. Anyway.
How did I privatize my whore mother?
Because she's a whore. It's private.
Because she's a whore?
Yeah, she's a private institution herself.
She's alive.
In 2008, so...
I was waiting for it. You activated my trap card.
In 2008, Jose Saramago released his second-to-last novel, The Elephant's Journey, a fictional retelling of the real-life story of King Yao III having an elephant delivered to Archduke Maximilian from Lisbon to Vienna in 1551 as a fucking wedding gift.
God damn. Fuck rich people. Jesus.
This is another one I haven't read, but it, of course, has very high praise. The elephant has his own Wikipedia page, by the way.
Oh, this shit happened.
Yeah. And apparently the elephant only lived for 18 more months after he was delivered.
Fucking weird.
What was the point? He was stuffed and kept in bad conditions in multiple museums before eventually being left in a basement for several years.
We just put a bunch of packing stuff around him so he wouldn't get hurt.
Well, actually, after World War II, he was used as shoe leather, which couldn't have been which could have been good because that skin had already literally mildewed. So they were just taking whatever was left of it, basically. What a fucking limited edition shoe, though. You know,
I'm not gonna fucking lie though. If somebody was like, "Hey, do you want the working shoe? Or do you want the one made out of the elephant that got shipped here and died?" I'd be like, "Oh, fucking."
Yeah, exactly. I would do the exact same thing. Like, fuck, man, that's cool.
Yeah. You're like, fuck yeah, give me the shoes.
I'm sure a fucking skin's like bonded leather though, and it gets picked apart, but I don't care, man.
I mean, I'm sure they only took like bits that they could have actually used and then tanned them, dude. You can't just like.
After fucking, like, but this is from 1551 to after World War II, like 1945. That's like 400 years.
Yeah, if they okay, no. Okay,
I don't know how it do.
No. If they waited that long, they wouldn't have just taken they wouldn't have dug up a corpse and used the fucking leather. If it was tanned, it was tanned, which means that it could have just been fucking like tanned afterwards and then left for that long of a time. It would have been okay.
Maybe. I don't know. Well, if you tanned it to begin with. I'm talking about waiting 400 years to do it, though. I don't know.
No, waiting 400 years to be rotted. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
That's what I'm saying. They fucking grabbed what they could that wasn't rotted. But, oh, God, dude, I don't know.
Rotted out of the
I'm going to look into it more.
Okay.
Because I am actually
I
genuinely
think
interested.
Tanned immediately, some of it would have been left, would have been okay.
Do they tan it when they stuff an elephant?
Oh, you tan it like you start that process.
Right?
You start that process like right after you fucking skin it.
Okay, because you've
elephant
done this,
specifically.
Yeah, you've done this. You've done this with squirrels, right? So you would know.
Mostly rats.
Mostly rats. Okay,
yeah, mostly rats.
Good.
Yeah.
Anyway, this all leads to Saramago's final novel. Oh boy! In 2009, a year before Saramago's death, he released the short novel Cain. This is once again a biblical fiction, this time from the perspective of the world's first murderer, Cain. Now, we all know the story of Cain and Abel.
Yes.
Okay, all right, just, hey. Look, didn't mean anything.
Look, I didn't see fucking snakes biting my grandpa in a trailer, speaking tongues, and not know Cain and Abel, okay? Like,
Cain is jealous of God's love for his brother, so Cain murders him with a rock. When God curses Cain to wander Earth for all eternity, Saramago says that Cain told God that he was a fucking witness to this murder and just as culpable as he was. God promises not to tell on him to his parents, and Cain walks away, bearing a black mark on his forehead denouncing him as one of God's unwanted forever. Now, what God doesn't mention to Cain is that he's going to put him in a fucking time jump, both forwards and backwards, just to fuck with him, according to Saramago. This way, Cain ends up as a worker constructing the Tower of Babel, he ends up fucking Noah's wife, and he even sees the building of the Ark, all which supposedly occurred several hundred years apart. However, in this last adventure, when the Ark is safely washed ashore on Mount Ararat, Ararat.
Well,
Ararat. I don't know how else to put it.
do you want to look it up real quick and pause?
Do you want me to say it in a Middle Eastern accent?
No.
Look,
Jesus Christ.
Then it's Ararat, all right?
It just sounds a little goofy.
I know, it sounds like a Pokemon Leave a Bee. Now, Cain, so when it washes onto the mountain...
One of them new Pokemon.
Cain kills everyone on board before Noah jumps overboard and kills himself. So this was the last remnants of humanity. God waits patiently outside the ark, waiting for Noah to open the gates and come out triumphantly, but instead he's greeted just by Cain, who tells God that there's no human left on earth, so you might as well just kill me. Quote, "There was a great silence. Then Cain said, 'Now you can kill me.' 'No, I can't. The word of God cannot be taken back. You will die a natural death on the empty earth, and carrion birds will devour your flesh. Yes, once you have devoured my spirit.' God's answer went unheard, and what Cain said next was lost too. But it seems likely that they argued with each other on many other occasions. And one thing we know for certain is that they continued to argue and are arguing still. The story, though, is over. There will be nothing more to tell." And that last line, "nothing more to tell," would ring true for Jose Saramago. He died June 18th, 2010, at the age of 87 from leukemia. According to his family, it happened fairly quick.
Fucking good run, though.
Yeah, he was having breakfast with his wife in his home of Lanzarote. And he felt unwell, and he died. At the time, he was 30 pages into a new novel. While not much has been established, he was apparently asking the question, why has no one in an arms factory ever revolted? So that would have been fucking fun.
Well, they probably keep, like, the bullets and the fucking, like, rifle manufacturing separate.
I don't know.
100%.
I know, but you're still making all the munitions. I don't know.
There's no fucking... Okay.
Bring your own to work. You know what? If
Okay,
there's one
no.
message Caleb can't read wants its viewers, its listeners, to know, bring bullets into work. All right? That's our message.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, you remember that one factory that, like, blew up that was manufacturing, like, bullets and shit a while ago? This happened, like...
This happens a lot, actually.
I fucking lot. So, clearly they keep all the shit for manufacturing bullets. Like, they do at least keep, like, the shells and then the actual bullets and then, like, the powder in the same place. There's no fucking way they keep the shit for the parts in the same place, man.
No, I
And just having a bullet, like, you can't put it in a slingshot and make it go.
But knowing Saramago...
You could try putting a nail on it and hit it with a hammer.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing, though. Knowing Saramago, he's done shit that are, like, alternate timelines, the future, the past... and the present. Who knows what timeline it may have been. I'm sure at one point they did manufacture it all at the same place, and maybe that's where he was going with it. I don't know. Like I said, 30 pages, that's it. Maybe he explained that, maybe he didn't.
Look, I just got excited, okay? No,
you knew something, and I'm proud of you. You know, I'm happy.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Jordan.
Well, when he died, Portugal held 2 days of mourning. International leaders from around the world sent their condolences. Fidel and Raul Castro sent flowers, because he was a lifelong communist. But former Prime Minister Silva... What?
I knew it.
Former Prime Minister Silva, who at this point was now the president of Portugal, noticeably was not there. When asked why he didn't even make a statement about his passing, he said he was vacationing and, quote, "I never had the privilege of knowing him."
But he's why I'm afraid of chairs.
This wasn't the only time he'd pulled this shit either, though. When I was talking with someone from the Saramago Museum, they said that there's this book festival that takes place in a different country every year to promote that country's works. And they specifically chose Portugal in, like, 2010 to celebrate Jose Saramago. But when President Silva made his speech about all the great works that came from the country, Saramago's name was noticeably absent. So, he just...
Still kind of a joke, though, to everybody in attendance, right?
Yeah,
like, it's like, you're
like,
just looking like more of an ass.
I know. It's just like, dude, this is so stupid. Like, give me a fucking...
You look like a bitch.
Yeah,
like,
really.
Yeah.
Well, either way, his funeral was held just 2 days after his death on June 20th, 2010, with more than 20,000 people in attendance. He was cremated, and a year later, his ashes were buried under a 100-year-old olive tree that rests in the front of the Casa dos Bicos building, where the Jose Saramago Museum is located. The tree was imported from Azinhaga, where his earliest memories were held. True to his word, Saramago's lost novel Skylight was released the year after his death. You remember the one that just got lost in shipping, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I'm a bad writer.
Yeah, and it is apparently very fucking good. But at this point, Saramago's name has been so fucking hyped that he's now getting reviewed by, like, The Guardian and the New York Times. And it makes me wonder, like, what the reviews would have actually been like if it was reviewed back then. In 2012, there was a documentary release called Jose and Pilar, detailing some of Saramago's last years, specifically while writing The Elephant's Journey. It was up for Best Foreign Language Film for the Academy Awards in 2012, but lost to an Iranian film called A Separation. On November 16th, 2021, on what would have been his 99th birthday, Jose Saramago was promoted in his knighthood once again and given the Grand Collar of the Order of Camões, the highest award given to those that promote Portugal and her values.
You can be a knight even after you die?
I guess fucking so.
Then I have hope.
I don't want to ask what you think you're going to be knighted. His works have been translated into more than 25 languages and have sold over 2 million copies in his native Portugal alone. In these episodes, we celebrate 100 years of Jose de Sousa Saramago. May we celebrate 100 more. My sources today and last episode. Oh, actually, I guess I split it up. So my sources today. The Gospel According to Jesus Christ by Jose Saramago, translated by Giovanni Pontiero. Harcourt, Inc., First Harvest Edition, 1994. In Praise of Portuguese, October 5th, 2018, CNN.com. Blindness by Jose Saramago, translated by Giovanni Pontiero, Harcourt, Inc., First Harvest Edition, 1999. Stockholm Speeches by Jose Saramago, Jose Saramago Foundation. Not sure of the year, it's just something they have for sale in the museum. Small Memories by Jose Saramago, translated by Margaret Huel Costa. Penguin Random House Vintage Classics Edition 2019. Cain by Jose Saramago, translated by Margaret Holcosta. Houghton Mifflin Publishing Company, First Mariner Books Edition 2012. The Jose Saramago Foundation in Lisbon is a source. I don't know how to shout out, but I just chatted with one of the dudes that worked there, and he had a lot of information. I don't know. Yeah, a big shout out to that guy.
Fucking wait, where?
It was the Jose Saramago Foundation in Lisbon. I got
Dude probably just has like a doctorate in something related, and you're just like,
probably,
hey, some guy I talked to that worked there.
Like, yeah, he's probably an author himself. I just like, I don't know. I think his name was like Jim. I don't know. Also Wikipedia, and a big shout out again to my research assistant for these episodes, my lady, Nicole Rabel.
Did you just say my lady?
My lady.
Don't forget to tip your fedora.
I'm not wearing it right now. I can't with the cans on, bro.
The cans, brother.
Cans.
The cans. Anyway, yeah.
I hope that we celebrate Gospel According to Jesus Christ with fucking Pope Benedict XVI's death that happened today.
Hey, yeah, no, I heard he was a Nazi, so.
You know, he wasn't really. I mean, he was in the Hitler Youth, but it was kind of dude, he was a child and there wasn't a whole lot of choice.
Look, man, I don't know about that. Like, I was a child once and I was never a Hitler Youth.
So you were a Baptist, right? You were an active Baptist?
Active? What do you mean active?
Well, you went to the ceremonies and shit, right?
I mean,
or
like,
did they take you because you were a child?
I mean, like, once or twice I got thrown in a car and then put in a church, but once they found out my parents are gay, we had to run. So, like, no, I don't think this is a good example for me.
It's a bit of an example. It's a good-ish one, you know, but
it's like...
you see where I'm going. I don't think his parents were gay. He actually hated gay people. But anyway, I'm just saying, yes, he was a homophobe, and he was probably a pretty bad dude, but I don't think he was that much of a Nazi. That's all I'm saying.
No, sorry, that's a black mark. You don't get to be no.
There is no gray area.
No. I'm sorry. Okay, look, I just want to say this. Even if, like, knowing nothing else about the guy except for the fact that he was a fucking Nazi youth, right? Mm-hmm. And even if you're right, and even if he just got drug fucking along for that particular portion of his life, and that might not even be correct. I'm not arguing that point. All I'm fucking what I am saying though is that no matter fucking what, just having that bit of information should stop you from being the fucking Pope.
Yeah, I'm sure he had a fucking like medal or something somewhere, a fucking like badge of honor.
Probably some other shit as well. I don't fucking know, man.
Oh look, he's one of those old man collectors. No. Oh man. Hey man, look, it's not going to be a month and a half till the next one.
Maybe.
I doubt it. Well, actually, fuck, you're right. Like, maybe. Not on my part. The next episode's all typed up, actually. It's just going through some revisions. No, dude, we might get fucking sick.
Yeah, we get sick or something. Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know.
Who gives a shit?
Huh? Us.
Fuck you.
Yeah.